U.S. President Donald Trump announced the cancellation of trade relations with Canada after accusing the country's authorities of manipulating a speech by former President Ronald Reagan. In Argentina, the authorities have imposed an election ban on the eve of the legislative process. And the Russian government rejected Lithuania's accusations of alleged violation of its airspace by Russian fighter jets. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The World Health Organization reported that the death toll in the Gaza Strip has reached 89 since the ceasefire was declared on October 11th. The organization stated that 317 people were injured after the ceasefire was announced, adding that the crisis in the Gaza Strip is far from over, while the needs of the population are enormous. The Director General revealed that the World Health Organization had evacuated 41 critically ill patients and 141 accompanying people from the enclave for the first time since the ceasefire agreement on October 10th, after Israel and the Palestinian movement Hamas accepted the peace agreement, which included the return of Israeli hostages, both living and dead, and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. In this context, a quarter of the population in the Gaza Strip is suffering from hunger due to the Israeli blockade, according to the United Nations Population Fund. The executive director of the organization, Andrew Saberton, emphasized the extreme vulnerability of women, many of whom have lost everything and lack access to basic personal hygiene items. The situation is critical for the more than 11,500 pregnant women affected by the food crisis, which Saberton described as a serious disaster. As for aid, the officials said that the shipments that managed to enter Gaza after the ceasefire were absolutely insufficient. However, the fund plans to deliver critical medical supplies such as incubators, heart monitors, and products for safe childbirth. And in other news, tropical storm Melissa moves slowly across the Caribbean Sea, increasing the risk of landslides and flooding. In this context, in the coastal city of Marigot in the southern Haiti, civil protection officials reported the death of an elderly man due to the impact of a fallen tree, while in the central region of Artibonite, 5 people were injured during the flooding. Meanwhile, in Jamaica, authorities announced that 881 shelters will be set up as they had ordered the temporary closure of businesses and government agencies. Melissa is the 13th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season and the first storm to form in the Caribbean this year. And the Mexican government reported that an oil spill in the state of Veracruz caused by heavy rains that hit the east of the country, where there were at least 78 people and 23 people still missing, was brought under control. The Secretary of the Navy issued a statement informing that the spill has been contained, which occurred in a pipeline belonging to the state-owned company Petróleos Mexicanos Pemex. It is specified that containment barriers were placed to prevent the liquid from spreading into the Pantepec River with the support of local fishermen and the military. The agency reported that the pipeline is operating safely and that environmental cleanup work is continuing in the affected area. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro thanked Colombia for its support in addressing U.S. imperialist aggressions against the country and the region. The president emphasized that while the U.S. military threat looms over the Caribbean, the country is well prepared to defend its territorial integrity, freedom, and peace. President Maduro also highlighted the support that Venezuela has from all its brother countries, especially Colombia, which has neutralized the violent acts that have been attempted against Venezuela, and insisted that imperialist and psychological warfare threats have been successfully countered with serenity and tranquility.
3 de mayo 2020.
On May 3, 2020, a group of mercenaries, Venezuelan mercenaries, and some U.S. mercenaries left from Colombia, supported by Duque. Now the whole truth has come out because the organizer, John Woodrock, has confessed everything they did, who financed it, who prepared it, who led it, how did he order it, where did they train them, and he has said everything about even Duque, then President of Colombia. We also said it because we knew everything even Duque was doing, thanks to the fact that there are many patriots in the military forces and in the intelligence forces of Colombia. And from here I thank you for all the support you have given us for many years, to all those who have supported the military and intelligence forces of Colombia, who have their hearts in Bolivar, and love us as the common homeland of Bolivar.
Y las fuerzas de inteligencia de Colombia que tienen el corazón en Bolívar y nos aman como patria común de Bolívar.
In other topics, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the cancellation of trade relations with Canada after accusing the country's authorities of manipulating a speech by former President Ronald Reagan. On this, his social media Truth Social, Trump called the Canadian television advertisement false, claiming that it misquotes former President Reagan talking about tariff policy. The U.S. President accused the announcement issued by the province of Ontario of attempting to interfere with the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to raise tariffs on Canada. In this scenario, Trump announced that he would end all trade negotiations with Canada with immediate effect. And on Thursday, hundreds of people in the United States took to the streets of San Francisco to protest against immigration raids and escalation in the enforcement of immigration laws. The protesters sang anthems and carried signs with direct messages such as "Protect our neighbors" and "No ICE or troops in the Bay," in reference to immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. The protest stands out in a context of growing tension as Customs and Border Protection agents arrived in the region as part of the intensification of operations and the escalation in the enforcement of immigration laws, coupled with President Donald Trump's threat to send the National Guard to the city under the pretext of controlling crime. Meanwhile, in Chile, high school students protested against interventionism promoted by far-right politicians regarding freedom of expression in the educational community, in addition to attempting to censor national historical facts for their own convenience. The students marched to the Superintendency of Education to reject and express their concern about the censorship that these right-wing sectors are trying to impose on educational content. They demanded an end to political repression against the students and teachers through legal proceedings and summaries against them, suspensions and loss of classes. The students denounced the action of a counselor who attempted to censor historical education about the coup d'etat in Chile against President Salvador Allende, describing it as alleged indoctrination.
Statement by a Republican councilwoman from the municipal council in which she claimed that our school and our principal were receiving threats from teachers and that they were ultra-left indoctrination and our school had been targeted for an activity to commemorating the coup d'etat. a fact that was the coup d'etat and that led to a dictatorship in our country, and that is a reality. So it is not possible that the people who are supposed to be educating us, teaching us, and training us are also denying things that actually happened in our country.
And now we go to Brazil. After overcoming a legal challenge from the far right, Brazil's first medical school course for agrarian reform settlement residents is underway. Our correspondent Brian Meir has more information.
In 1997, Brazil's social movements pressured the federal government to create university courses for youth in agrarian reform settlements and quilombolas, which are villages of descendants of people who escaped slavery. Since then, 190,000 people have gotten bachelor's degrees through the Pronera program. Now it's starting its first medical school course at Pernambuco Federal University.
We believe that Brazil's public universities, especially the Federal University of Pernambuco, need to address the structural problems in our society. When we look at rural areas, we understand that there are populations which still face barriers in accessing both university education and quality health care.
After 21 years, Pronera was cancelled by far-right President Jair Bolsonaro, but it was reinstated when Lula da Silva took office in 2023. When the government announced the new medical school program, however, a legal challenge was mounted to attempt to stop it from happening.
It's important to say that we never had any legal problems with our courses in areas like education and geography. But now this medical course bothers Brazil's elites.
Pedagogia, de geografia, agora quando o assunto é medicina, aí incomodou a elite brasileira. Então por isso que nós
This is why legal challenges are on the way, mainly from the right and the far right, who are attempting to cancel the medical school program.
The first legal hurdle was overcome this month when a federal regional court ruled in favor of Pronera. The plaintiffs still have a right to appeal to the Supreme Court, but the judges ordered that the program be allowed to start immediately.
The law and medical schools have always been occupied by the children of the rich in Brazil. This is why this bothers them. They don't want their children to study in the same spaces as the children of poor people.
Brazil's first medical program for agrarian reform settlement and quilombola residents is scheduled to start by the end of the month. Brian Meir, teleSUR, Caruaru, Pernambuco.
We have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. In Argentina, the authorities have imposed an election ban on the legislative proceedings. The National Electoral Chamber has announced restrictions on campaign advertising, events and sport activities in order to guarantee the transparency of the electoral process and protect the will of the voters. The ban was put in place on Friday at 8 a.m. local time, as specified by the designated authority, and will remain in effect until the conclusion of the elections on Sunday, October 26th. Argentina will renew as well a total of 127 deputies and 24 senators. And the Electoral Service of Chile, CERVEL, begins preparations for the November 16th presidential and parliamentary elections. 15,070,000 voters are called to the polls. As part of the preparations for the election process, the CERVEL will publish on its website the list of the 203,646 poll workers this weekend, and this method of publishing the names of the designated poll workers is fair from that used in previous elections, where they were notified by registered letter or in the print media. CERVEL reported that a total of 3,498 polling stations will be opened, of which 3,379 will be in the country and 119 abroad. On November 16th, Chileans will not only elect their next president, but also the 155 members of the Chamber of Deputies and 23 of the 50 senators. And Japan's new Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae stated during her first speech that there will be an improvement in security and military strategy as tensions with China, North Korea and Russia increase. According to Takaichi, her government will aim to accelerate annual military spending to 2% of gross domestic product by next March instead of 2027 as previously planned. The official also assured that she will review the security strategy in advance to have it ready by the end of 2026, which will include significant updates. Takaichi took office as Prime Minister on Tuesday, October 21st, ending months of political vacuum marked by power struggle within her party and consecutive electoral defeats. And North Korean President Kim Jong-un reaffirmed military and friendly ties with Russia, assuring continued cooperation without hesitation. The leader confirmed the death of bilateral relations during the initial ceremony for the construction of a museum dedicated to the participation of Korean military personnel in operations abroad. In his speech, Kim Jong-un paid tribute to his country's soldiers who participated in the liberation of the Russian province of Kursk alongside Russian military personnel. He also highlighted this event as the beginning of a new history of combat unity in the relations between the two nations, which were consolidated as the most reliable, firm, and invincible in sharing the same destiny. And the Russian government rejected Lithuania's accusations of alleged violation of its airspace by Russian fighter jets. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that on October 23rd, Su-30 fighter jets conducted scheduled training flights over the Kaliningrad region in accordance with the rules for the use of airspace over the territory. The minister specified that the aircraft did not deviate from their flight path or violate the borders of other states. In this scenario, the Russian government reported that the information on the flight's route was confirmed through objective monitoring tools. And in this context, Russia's air defense forces shot down approximately 111 Ukrainian attack drones in southwest of the country during the last day. Through the Telegram social network, the Russian Ministry of Defense stated that the operations were carried out in 13 regions of the country, including the capital, Moscow, and the Sea of Azov. For its part, Moscow Governor Andrei Vorovyov reported that the impact of a drone on a residential building caused 4 adults and 1 minor to be injured. In recent months, Ukraine has focused its attacks on refineries, fuel depots, and other facilities of Russia's oil industry. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, we invite you to join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.